DeQuan Finn. Remember the name. This is Locked On Baylor.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of Locked On Baylor, brought to you by FanDuel. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Today, we're thanking you for making this your first listen today and every day, because we're the only ones that's bringing you nothing but Baylor athletics content 5 days a week that's not coming from the university. And I'm proud of that. Today, we're talking quarterback again. I know. I can already hear you barking, big dog. It's not the biggest problem that Baylor had or has. I know. And oh, Cam, you just talked last week about how much you like Sawyer Robertson. I do. But when a name like DeQuan Finn becomes available, you try everything you've got to get him in the door in Waco. And those of you who are already barking are probably barking some more. Cam, who are you talking about? Who is DeQuan Finn? And then when I tell you he's a record-setting quarterback at Toledo, you'll say, Toledo! Toledo! That's what we're looking at right now. And the answer, my friends, is yes. Yes. Two reasons. First, beggars cannot be choosers. Baylor just went 3-9. Toledo, picking players from Toledo is truly not scraping the bottom of the barrel, first off. And second off, yeah, this kid's real good, and some programs that are a lot better than you are going to show some interest. He is going to be playing Power 5 football as a starting quarterback next year, DeQuan Finn. And he absolutely should be. When I was looking at the transfer portal quarterbacks, DeQuan Finn was really number one for me, but I only mentioned him in passing. What is that, a week ago or so? Because he just didn't seem likely. He's a Midwestern kid. He's from Detroit originally. He was Mr. Michigan football. He is going to get some Big Ten interest, and sounds like already has. And so I just thought, well, that's out the door. All right. Even though he's a great fit here, he'll be Big Ten. But he's visiting Baylor this week. The end of this week is what we heard. He could be on Baylor's campus or in the football facility right now as you're listening or watching this. As it comes out on Thursday, he could well be here today. And my advice to Dave Aranda, to Jake Spavital, to Baylor Police, to anybody watching, if you have the chance, don't let this kid leave. We need him here. You already missed out on Jamori Macklin, who committed to Kentucky yesterday. Probably the best receiver in the portal who got an offer from Baylor. That stinks. This kid, you need him in green and gold next year. He's that good. Let's go over how good he is. His 2023 stats, 63% completion percentage, over 2,600 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 9 picks. That's pretty good in and of itself. Let's look at the career. 3 years as the starter, 2 MAC championship games, 1 MAC championship, MAC player of the year, 60% completion percentage, 7,000 yards, 63 touchdowns, and 23 interceptions. Woo-wee! Cam, that's already pretty good. There's no way you're going to tell me there's more. Guess what? There's more. He's rushed for over 500 yards in each of his 3 years as a starter. That's over 1,800 total and 25 rushing touchdowns for his career. So if you're keeping score at home, that is 88 total touchdowns in just over 3 years. 88! Boy, golly, that's good. That got Keenan Reynolds to the Heisman stage almost. The kid can ball, man. In fact, you want me to compare him to the competition? Okay, I will. This is from my good pal Jackson Posey on Twitter. DeQuan Finn is the only FBS player. This is going to sound like cherry picking, by the way, but trust me, it's impressive. DeQuan Finn is the only FBS player with 18-plus touchdown passes and 7-plus rushing touchdowns in each of the last 3 seasons. That's pretty good in and of itself, even if it's a cherry-picked stat, okay? He's the only player to do that in each of the last 3 seasons. There are some guys who have done it each of the last 2 seasons. You want to hear the company he's in? Okay. Caleb Williams, Drake Maye, Jordan Travis, and DeQuan Finn. If we're talking dual threat counting stats, he is right up there with the very best in college football. Heisman Trophy winner, potential number 1 pick, Caleb Williams. Drake Maye, another potential number 1 pick in this year's draft. He's gaining momentum that way. And the guy who is so good that when he went down, even though his team was undefeated ACC champions, the committee said, well, this kid's not there. They don't stand a chance. That's the kind of company DeQuan Finn is in. I'll take that. Got 2 years of eligibility left, by the way. And he is one of 6 FBS quarterbacks this year to have 2,000 passing yards and 500 rushing yards. Just 6 in the whole nation have done that this year. DeQuan Finn is one of them. And by the way, Toledo for years was not much of anything in football. And I know you're probably saying, well, they're not much right now. That's because you don't follow Group of 5. You don't watch Maction with me on Tuesday and Wednesday nights. That's fine. But from 2004 to 2022, they had made a MAC championship game just once. And they've made 2 in the last 2 seasons. Thanks to, yes, DeQuan Finn. He can do it all. He's the best dual threat quarterback in the portal. The best one. Well, Cam Ward's going to come in. So he is the guy that's out there. I don't care. I don't care what name was on the front of his uniform last year. Could not give less of a fecal matter. Really couldn't. He played FBS competition. He balled out like some of the best quarterbacks in the entire nation. And he did 2021 as a sophomore or freshman. Anyway, he did all he could do in South Bend to beat Notre Dame. Fighting Irish come back with a touchdown in the last minute to beat them. But he put them ahead. He put Toledo ahead with 2 minutes left. He did all he could at Notre Dame. Had some highlight reel plays at the Horseshoe against Ohio State. The kid can play. He truly can play. Anything to get him in here, man. Anything. Anything at all. I'm going to go through some of his draft prospects here. This is the scouting report from NFL Draft Diamonds. This is from PJ Hardaway. Wrote this about a month ago. 3-year starter, 40 career games, and 33 starts. Already, that's bang on. I'll take that, okay? Athletic build, dual threat quarterback, moves well within the pocket, good vision, keeps eyes downfield, and makes good throws. Has solid arm strength and does a good job completing throws outside of the numbers to the opposite side of the field. That's very good arm strength, if you ask me. That's NFL type arm strength that you can make the throws all over the field. And this is one thing I actually picked up on. I know, big brain Cam, was he throws guys open. That's not something that even some of the best college quarterbacks can't do that. Even some of the ones who are lighting things up, they can't do that. That's what separates a lot of guys from college into the NFL. This kid can already do it. He allows them to get open. He gives them yak opportunities, yards after the catch, and extends plays. I'm here for it, man. And then they put the scheme fit. 1 sentence, 5 words, what the scheme fit would be for him. Spread offense with read option. Bang! We're done. That's it. Baylor, Jake Spavital, Dave Aranda, he might save your job. Bang! We're done. That's it. What else do you need to know? DeQuan Finn, please. Baylor, put another championship banner up. It'll take a lot. But this is the only guy that Baylor can go and get right now who could well be worth a few wins for them. Offensive line is the most important. I know that. But no other position on the field, one player can determine the outcome like the quarterback can. And DeQuan Finn can add wins to your schedule next year. It's a no-brainer, guys. It is a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer, just like PrizePicks is. Look, it's the number one daily fantasy sports platform, there we go, in America. And now with the basketball season here, you can pick combo projections across football and basketball from the specials league. So you can do, I'll go CeeDee Lamb plus Draymond Green, 6.5 receptions plus punches to the opponent. Okay, maybe you can't do that one. But you can do his teammate Steph Curry and do CeeDee Lamb and Steph Curry potential catches. I'm sorry, I cracked myself up. Catches plus 3-pointers made at 10.5. You can do that too. And you can play alongside Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz, and you will know what they're playing. It's under the community tabs. You can see that every time. And PrizePicks is the only one that offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players go out. So they go out in the first quarter, they don't come back for the game, that player is rebooted. PrizePicks, yes, the only one that offers that injury insurance policy. So go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege, okay? And use the code lockedoncollege for a first deposit match up to $100, okay? That's prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use the code lockedoncollege. PrizePicks, that's daily fantasy sports made easy. I am I'm so indebted to you, the fans, truly. And I said earlier this week, put some questions down in the comments. We're going to do a mailbag. I thought it was going to be a slow week. Turns out things picked up. There's nothing bigger than when Baylor hires an offensive line coach and could get the best quarterback in the portal. That's actually attainable. Yeah, sorry, you're not getting McCord or Moore or any of those guys. But DeQuan Finn is almost not attainable for Baylor, but there is a chance. So all that to say, I needed to get the DeQuan Finn thing out of there. I haven't been so excited about a prospect for Baylor in a while that they actually have coming in the door. That's incredible to me. They have a shot at this kid. But a mailbag is what I asked for. Questions are what I got. So let's do the mailbag. Okay, first question I'm going to address. This is from Zach, loyal listener of the show. Thank you, Zach, by the way. Could you talk a bit about the state of Baylor's recruiting? I'm trying to be optimistic, but it's hard when you look at the roster in the current recruiting class. Ranked 14th out of 16th in the new Big 12, roughly 67th overall, behind a couple of not good Group of 5 schools. And when a Big 12 program is recruiting like a MAC program, ... incomplete sentence. Zach, that was dramatic, but it's true. Recruiting is not in a good spot for Baylor right now, and it has not been since Dave Aranda's been here. To be totally honest with you, I thought they put together a decent enough class last year, and I could still be right on that. I just didn't expect them all to play as freshmen. Those would be guys like a Caden Jenkins, but like a Corey Gordon or DJ Coleman or LeVar Thornton. I think Isaiah Robinson is going to be a big cornerstone of this team. He's, big, really, 6'7" left tackle. I think he is going to be your tackle of the future from Arlington Lamar. Thankfully, he's coming back. But then they all go out there week 1, week 2. Dawson Pendergrass in there as well. So you didn't expect that, but I do think there's good talent in there. Even then, it wasn't a jump off the page kind of recruiting class for you. And let me preface it by saying this before I get into that 24 class. Baylor does not need to be in even the top 20. They don't need to be top 10. They don't need to be top 15 either. Baylor's most successful years have come when they've been living at like 25 to 30 in terms of a recruiting class. I haven't double checked this. I don't know that Art Briles actually had a recruiting class that was in the top 20. Even or at least that he coached. Maybe that last one that they all defected. Maybe that was a top 20. That was the best class coming in Baylor's history. Baylor doesn't need that. They need to develop these guys. And that's, to be fair, that's something that Dave Aranda hasn't done very well either, is developing these guys while they're here. So looking at the 24 class, it doesn't need to be top 20. But to Zach's point, 67 is far too low. It's actually 68th according. I'm going to go off 24/7. That's to me the most reputable. 24/7 has them ranked 68th overall, which is bad. It's not good. Now, there are some guys I'm excited about in this recruiting class, but I don't see anyone here that is going to just come in and play straight away. Now, I know that's not the mark of a great recruiting class, but it's nice to see, especially with a coach coaching for his job, that there's someone who can come in and play week one. We had a couple of those in last year's class. Matthew Klopfenstein, I said, was one, and he ended up getting some playing time. Bryson Washington, I said, was one, and he got some playing time early in the season, got nicked up a little bit, ends up redshirting, which I think is going to be good in the long run. But guys, I'm excited about Jaden Porter. He's one that I watched quite a few times at Lorena, which if you're not from around here, it's the town right next to Waco. It's a suburb. He committed after his sophomore year when he won the state championship. Receiver out of Lorena, burner, guy who's going to need to add on some weight and muscle before he gets serious snaps at Baylor, but one who I think is going to be a contributor a few years from now. Mason Dossett from Missouri City. He's one who might have to play pretty soon in his career. He's a safety. I believe he was just announced as his district's defensive player of the year. Excited about him. One that I don't know too much about in terms of whether he's still coming. I do know a lot about him, the player. Graydon Grimes from China Spring, won 2 state championships at China Spring, another suburb of Waco. Obviously a suburb of Waco because his dad was working at Baylor up until a few weeks ago, Jeff Grimes' son. Now, he was excellent as a defensive end, edge rusher, pass rusher for China Spring when they won the state championship in 2022. That, by the way, that's the team I do broadcasting for. If you didn't know that, I've got the hat back there that you probably can't really see. Great edge rusher. Now, he's a big kid, 6'5", 235. China Spring needed him on the interior defensive line this year, so they moved him there. He had a good season, still had a pretty darn good season. I just don't project him at that position at the next level. They haven't recruited a lot at the defensive line. They have him listed as a tight end. I don't know that he'll play tight end. He didn't play tight end in high school. Certainly has the body for it, but I don't know that he'll play it. And don't know. He hasn't decommitted. Nothing. I don't have any insight on this situation. So don't know whether he still comes to Baylor now with his dad going to KU. Don't know. We don't know about his brother. He had a tweet that he was coming back and then deleted it. Garrison Grimes is a long snapper for Baylor right now. So don't know about that. That's kind of the recruiting outlook. I wish it could be more rosy. Wish it could be more positive for you, but I'm sorry. I just don't see it yet. Hopefully the coaches can develop these guys once they're here. Because again, it doesn't need to be like a really top end recruiting class for it to work, for it to be successful. This question came in as well of what sport at Baylor do you want to see the most that isn't one that you've attended in person, at least for Baylor anyway? I can't believe this, but I have still not been to a Baylor hockey game. I want to see a Baylor hockey game so bad. I want to play in one. I don't even know how to skate. I love hockey so much. I know you guys who watch on YouTube, you've seen I wear the Bruins jerseys a lot, Bruins hats. I freaking love hockey. I love going to hockey games. It's my favorite sport to go and actually see in person. I offered, almost begged to be the play-by-play announcer this year, but they start the season early enough that I wouldn't have been able to do it half the season with high school football. Would love to broadcast a game, would love to shoot a game, would love to be on the bench. I don't care. I want to go to a Baylor hockey game so bad. I love hockey. I love Baylor. That's what I want to do. So thank you for that question. I'm so excited about it. I didn't even go to, I had been to like one lacrosse game before last year. I played lacrosse in high school. I love lacrosse. So would love to see that a little bit more, but hockey. I want to see it so bad. It's far away. It's in Mansfield. It's over an hour away. So it's not just an easy one that I can pick up and go to, but I absolutely would love to go to a Baylor hockey game. We'll stick with winter sports, but we'll go to one that you guys know a little bit more. We're going to talk a little basketball after this message. And the message is coming to you today from FanDuel, which is my favorite way to win money. Okay. It's a great time to get in on the action. There's so many sports going on. Of course, we've got bowl season right on the horizon. We've got college basketball. We have got hockey. I don't know if you can do it for Baylor hockey, but you got hockey going on, NHL as well. And obviously the NFL still in full swing. Got some big games, obviously, in December to try and figure out who is going to be the 1 seed and why it's going to be the Dallas Cowboys. Just kidding. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your team wins. And by the way, they make it easy for you. They make it easy for me, and I'm pretty dumb when it comes to this. But you can do spreads, player props, over-unders, all that you can think of. FanDuel.com/locked-on. And remember, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. FanDuel.com/locked-on. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. This question comes in from Scotty. You might know him as the Baylor King and loyal listener of the show. Can't thank you enough, Scotty. Really appreciate you following along and helping me out, by the way. Scotty has helped me out big time on the transfer portal and recruiting news in the last week or so. He is so in touch with everything. It's awesome. And he sends me the DMs of all the guys who are entering the portal, what they could be like for Baylor, great fits. The guy knows ball. He really knows ball. And he's helped me out a lot with that. So he sent him a couple questions. Sorry, Scotty. I'm going to pick just one, okay? Last 2 games at the Ferrell Center, so one of each for each team, the men and the women, coming up in the next 2 weeks here. What is your top 5 games in men's and women's basketball combined that you have been at? So my top 5 games at the Ferrell Center. Now, he did say games because my favorite memory would probably be my graduation. But we're going to go with games here, okay? And I've written out a top 5 for you, the fans. Number 5, 2017 versus Kansas. This is the only loss that is on the list. But this was the first year that Baylor hit number 1. They were number 1 at this point. This was in February, late February. So right near the end of the season. They weren't number 1 still, but they were both in the top 5. It was when we had the great neon uniforms and we had neon t-shirts on every seat. It looked freaking awesome. It was completely sold out. And it's got one of my great favorite memories in there. Baylor was playing well. They weren't winning most of the game, but they were within touching distance the whole game. And at this point, Baylor hadn't beaten Kansas in years and years. And I remember with about a minute, less than a minute, I think it was like 40 seconds left. They were down 3, and Manu Leconte from Belgium pulls up from the logo, like the R in Baylor, and freaking nails it. And the place goes nuts. It's one of the craziest I've ever heard the Ferrell Center. Unfortunately, Baylor loses that game by 2. Which they always used to do. They were great playing for 39 minutes back then. And it stunk. It really did. But just the way the atmosphere in there that day, everyone was there hours early. And that 3 specifically, it's one of the great memories that I have there. Another great atmosphere. I mean, most of them will be. Number 4, 2016, the ladies versus the University of Texas. This was a game late in the season. I don't know if it was senior night or not. It was a gold out, which we used to do really well. It was awesome. There were gold t-shirts on all the seats, which is what you got to do. And they probably had 9,000 people there at the Ferrell Center, which is just so rare. And these were always the top 2 teams, of course, Baylor and Texas in women's basketball. And if Baylor won, they would outright win the conference championship for the regular season, which they always did. But Texas was coming in. They were top, if not top 10, top 15. They were a pretty good team. And Baylor just throttled them. They beat them by like 35 points, just all over them. That was such a stacked women's team, by the way. That team, Nia Johnson, Nina Davis, a freshman, Kalani Brown, who else? Christy Wallace, Alexis Jones, Alexis Prince. They were so good. That team probably should have won the national championship. They were that good. At least should have been in the Final Four. But they won the Big 12 that night. Sticking with women's, this is number 3, which was in 2017, which was also a day that they clinched a Big 12 conference championship. And it was senior day, and it was also Kim Mulkey's 500th win, which was not the biggest news for Kim Mulkey that day. That was when she said, and I quote, "If someone tells you they won't send their Baylor to daughter," which I believe she meant daughter to Baylor, "you smack them right in the mouth. You punch them in the face." Place went nuts. Awesome. Was it cool? Well, was it couth? No. Was it a bad time? Did she have to apologize for it? Sure. But I will never apologize for that. That was awesome. And to be quite honest with you, no matter what side of or what you think of the scandal, if you think all these people were completely innocent, I happen to not think that. That is what Baylor fans needed to hear. They didn't need to actually do that, but that's what Baylor fans needed to hear. We needed to hear someone standing up for us and standing up for this university. And that even though this university had done something wrong, because they absolutely had, that there is a great side of this school. And Kim Mulkey said that. It was, I don't remember how entertaining the game was, which I guess is getting away from Scotty's question, but that was such a fun, great moment. And I almost get emotional thinking about it. Like, it's juvenile and whatever, but I needed to hear that. People needed to hear that. When Stephen A. was talking and directly into the camera for you at ESPN saying Baylor basically should be shut down as a school and that no one should send their kids there, to hear Kim Mulkey say that was awesome. I don't care about the backlash she got. It went viral. It was special. It was something we needed to hear. And as much as I have a problem with Kim, I'm not a huge fan of her, the person. She's a great coach, one of the absolute best to ever do it. And while she sounds like a pain to work with, she did represent Baylor well a lot. So I can't thank her enough for how she represented Baylor, especially in that moment. I know she had to walk it back, and that makes perfect sense, but that was awesome. Number 2, 2022, the men clinched the Big 12 title. I actually couldn't make it to the women clinching it the next day, but I missed out on a lot of the great Baylor teams at the Ferrell Center, like 1920, 2021, and 21-22. I was either there was COVID restrictions or I was actually working out in Odessa in the 21-22 season, so I didn't get to come back all that much. I missed the great football season being there in person, but I got to come back for the last regular season home game, which was not a great game. Actually, Baylor went out to a big lead, and Iowa State came back and kept punching back and had this backdoor cut that kept working. I've never seen a Scott Drew team be exposed by one play over and over and over again, especially how good defensively that team was. But I actually got to be in there when they clinched the Big 12 title, which again was something that was unthinkable when I was a student. It really was. Even though they had some good teams, Kansas was always the Big 12 champs. Even in 2019-20, when Baylor had a great elite team, Kansas was the champ. So in 21, they won it outright. That was awesome. They end up sharing it in 22, but it says champions on the banner. And that team was beleaguered and battered, and the Bears have got no players, but will still win the league. And that's exactly what they did. That was a great moment to celebrate that. And then number 1, not the most entertaining game in terms of back and forth, not one that a lot of people will remember, a player that not a lot of people will remember years and years from now. My senior year, I was actually on the call for Baylor Lariat, 2019, Baylor versus TCU, Makai Mason, 40 points. unbelievable shooting gallery that day. He just couldn't miss. It's still on my broadcast reel, which is on YouTube if you want to go and find it. Terrible audio, but great call. He couldn't miss. I think he was like 9 of 12 from 3. He was just couldn't stop. That was even their best win at the Ferrell Center that year. They beat Tech that year in the Ferrell Center, but crushed TCU by 30. And he goes off for 40. It's one of the best shooting exhibitions I've ever seen live. And I remember saying, at this rate, Makai Mason will never have to buy a Dr. Pepper in this town ever again. It was a great exorcism for what he did for against us when he was at Yale. He's also a Massachusetts guy, which we don't get many of here at Baylor, especially as athletes. So that was just such a special one to watch, to be on the call, to see him go off like that. That was a lot of fun. Honorable mentions quickly, because I'm running out of time here. Last year against Kansas, I had never seen them beat Kansas. I didn't mention this, but in 2018, when they did, I was actually studying abroad, so I didn't get the Kansas victory nor the snow day announcement. So that was big, and I think I missed the Matson Financial putt that year too. Another Kansas game, 2016, my freshman year, where it was super, super cold outside. They lost by 1 point, but everyone remembers the play right before the half where they inbounded it the length of the court to Rico Gathers, the corner 3. Bang! 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 Oh, that was such an awesome moment. His first and only career 3. It was absolute shambles, limbs in the student section. It was crazy. People were falling over chairs. Maybe the best moment I've ever had in the Ferrell Center was that. Upsetting Oregon in 2016-17. This was one of those early, like middle of the day, weekday games. I think it was before they invited all the kids there. But I remember skipping class. It was something I didn't do very often. And they beat Oregon, who went to the Final Four that year. They didn't have their star player, Dylan Brooks. And Baylor beat them pretty handily, beat them by like 15 or 16. And then the last one, my senior year against Kansas State. This girl I had a huge crush on, got invited to do 3-point, like one of the 3-point shooting things in one of the commercial breaks. And it was just banging threes. I was so smitten at that point. So that's a funny kind of memory for me. We did go out once. I wouldn't even call it a date, to be totally honest with you. Hope she's doing well. But that's my top 5 for the Ferrell Center. With how slow the schedule gets in December, if you have more questions for a mailbag, there's chances are I will do one of those again. So let me know what your favorite games or favorite memories were at the Ferrell Center. I'd love to talk some more about that as we count down the days until Baylor moves into the Foster Pavilion. But we'll be back tomorrow with some more recruiting news. Of course, tell me what you think about DeQuan Finn, what you think about this year's recruiting class, and a tearful goodbye to the F Shack. Thank you for making it your first listen today and every day. I truly, really appreciate you guys. We'll be back tomorrow with more Locked On Baylor.